So I'm just coming up to the end of my week three. Week three is when prebiotic fiber gets introduced. So there is some prebiotic fiber allowed earlier in the program because things like leeks, onions, garlic, inulin, they're all prebiotics. And I got in touch with Dr. Davis's team to ask, are you meant to have the prebiotics in week one and two if you're then meant to introduce them in week three? And the reply I got was, yes, have them in week one and two, but keep them to a lower level. What does that mean? It means that if you're experiencing digestive issues such as bloating or diarrhea, it's quite possibly that your prebiotics are too high and to lower them. Whereas I just sort of accidentally included prebiotics. I didn't notice any adverse effects, and therefore Dr. Davis's team have said, that's fine. You've not done anything wrong by having them as long as you felt fine. So now it's a point of focusing on increasing them because prebiotic fiber feeds the good bacteria in your stomach. So that's really now what you're wanting to strengthen and populate. So it says to start with a teaspoon of inulin in your morning coffee, or adding a small amount of legumes like chickpeas or lentils to one of your meals, and building up to 20 grams per meal. So a tablespoon of this is 10 grams. Onions and garlic, they're, as you can imagine, maybe like a half onion. That's something that I'm still trying to navigate, is working out precisely which foods, what quantities, and then how often. It's meant to be that you have prebiotic fiber with every meal and you're building up to 20 a day. So if you do have a tablespoon of this in your morning smoothie, it's already half your prebiotic allowance for the day. And I think going forward, as your gut gets stronger and stronger, you can build to much higher levels of than the 20 grams. But initially, especially as they're saying in those first few weeks, it could upset your stomach if you have that 20 grams. It shows that, yes, it's good for you, but your stomach needs to be able to receive it. So the rest of week three has been same supplements. I've continued with having a fermented food every day. I've continued with keeping my meals under 15 grams net carbs. I've avoided sugar. I've removed grains. I've limited alcohol. So it is that week one, there's quite a lot of new things, and then every week you add on to it, really. You don't seem to stop doing any of the previous steps, which does, as I've said all along, week one is the hardest, and then two and three, you're more familiar and you're more in a pattern. What I did notice that was different to week two, I had this real loss of appetite almost. Like I just did not feel hungry. I didn't really have food cravings, and I was really having to go, I better eat a meal now. This week I felt a lot more hungry. I didn't feel like I had extreme cravings, so I was able to stick to the criteria for the program. I didn't just go, I'm going to go get a bag of crisps or anything. But I could feel myself going, I want to eat. And I think I've been able to correlate this sort of loss of appetite and then these cravings probably to my menstrual cycle. So something that I would say for women is the hardest week, or the week you've got the most cravings, is normally the week before your period. So my recommendation is to not start the program in that week. And if you start the program near your period, or after your period, depending on how you feel, those first 2 weeks, or those 2 weeks in the middle, is probably when you're going to have the most satisfaction and success with not having cravings, with not feeling like you're wanting to overeat or anything. So my advice would be to start the program after your period starts, and then you're building up into the routine and the regime by the time it starts to get slightly more challenging. But I'm pleased to say that while I did feel tired and I was hungry, it didn't feel painful to stick to the regime. So that's nice. But I just had like slightly less energy and was just craving more food in general. So that's my reflection for this week.